Alright, budget magic time. Playing some Little Kid Green-White in Modern. And we'll play first. Ooh, okay. This hand's actually pretty good. We have our colors of mana. We have a decent curve. No one drop, but a decent curve starting on turn 2. Could work. So, Forest, go. We are going to need one more colored source for Wiltleaf Leash. Shambling Vent for our opponent. Well, let's just Watch Wolf. Pass the turn. A little bit of a faster clock. Plus, Pride Mage is better. This could be an Aether Vial deck, and Pride Mage is nice to be able to play and activate. Godless Shrine, untapped. And Athalia, not very relevant against our deck. Well, Gavany Township and Dauntless Escort. Get in with our Watch Wolf. The good news in this matchup is our creatures are just bigger than our opponent's creatures. Well, never mind. Here comes a Thought-Knot Seer. Yep, there's a Thought-Knot. Probably takes Wiltleaf Leash, I assume. Yep, takes Wiltleaf Leash. Opponent passes. Alright, now we gotta play a Pride Mage to be able to keep attacking. Pride Mage, get in with Watch Wolf. Opponent takes it, down to 11. Ooh, another Eldrazi Temple. Ay. That's what the Eldrazi deck wants. Eldrazi Displacer, that is pretty annoying. Opponent passes. Play a Plains. Well, let's play Fleece Mane Lion. Go to combat. Get in with our Watch Wolf. I'm assuming our opponent's going to, like, block and blink or something along those lines. Okay, well, they can do that as well. Just blinks our Watch Wolf. They do need to make sure that Fleece Mane doesn't go monstrous, but Displacer is a good way of doing that. If they path, we get a land, and that gets us to... Oh no, is this another Thought-Knot? Blade Splicer. That's potentially pretty bad, because that's a lot of blink value. We need a Dramoka's Command. Well, play another Fleece Mane. Did not draw land. Pass the turn. Yeah, I don't know if we can get around this Displacer Blade Splicer. Our opponent's just going to go so wide. They can make 2 golems every turn if they just leave all their mana up. And they have First Strike, which makes it really difficult for us to actually attack. Ghost Quarter can kill our township. Oh my goodness. Yup, there it is. Well, we'll get a forest. This double temple is absolutely destroying us. If they could blink once a turn, things would be a little bit more reasonable, but the fact that they can blink twice a turn is just way too much. Flicker Wisp, gonna flicker the Blade Splicer. Yeah, I don't know how we beat this. Opponent passes. Gets another Golem. We'll play Stirring Wildwood, play Quasali Pride Mage, play Watch Wolf. Pass the turn. Yeah, we're essentially just locked here. Pass the turn. Oh, wow. We needed a Dramoka's Command, and we did not have one. I think, generally speaking, our deck beats our opponent's deck. However, if they have this lock, it does not. And our opponent starts to get in with the flyer. Yep. Passes. Not a Dramoka's Command. Well, play the Plains, pass the turn. And we're probably not even going to be able to Monstrous Fleece Mane because of this Displacer. Blinks Blade Splicer. Alright, well, this is our chance to try it. Do they have a path? They do not. Alright, so 1 Fleece Mane Monstrous. Still, though, I just don't know how we beat these golems. We can sort of fizzle 1 attack with our Dauntless Escort. Opponent passes. We just keep drawing more lands. Sun Petal Grove, pass the turn. Yeah, we're just going to get golemed to death here. Oh, wow. We're probably going to have to start attacking with Fleece Manes. And our opponent has 3rd Eldrazi Temple, so they get 3 blinks a turn now. Pretty insane. Eldrazi Temple should not be a Magic card anyway, but it definitely should not support activated abilities. That makes it more unfair than it already is. Yep, I mean, we monstrous again, but it just doesn't matter. Our opponent has just gone off with Displacer Blade Splicer, and we haven't drawn a single removal spell. Here comes a Flicker Wisp. And now we're to the point where it doesn't even matter. Even if we draw something, and we don't. Alright, it's scoop time. Opponent got us with their wombo combo there. Unfortunately, we don't have any good sideboard ways of dealing with that. One of the downsides of being our budget deck is we only have 4 Dromoka's Command, Israel removal. We have Condemn, which is good against specific things like Death Shadow, but it does literal 0 to stop us from getting locked by Displacer, which is one of the huge downsides of Condemn. Like, it's fine if you're playing against Goblin Guides and Death Shadows that just have to attack all the time. But there's a huge downside, which normally makes it unplayable. The only reason I'd never put Condemn in decks, because I think it's utterly unplayable for this very reason. But I think it's playable right now because of Death Shadow being so popular. But generally speaking, don't view Condemn as a budget substitute for Path. You will be sorely disappointed and lose a lot of games because of it. That's one of the substitutions I see a lot when people post budget lists, because they look similar. 1 mana removal. I don't want to spend the budget on Path, so I just stick 4 Condemns in there, and that is not typically a way to get long-term success. This deck is really missing Path to Exile. If there's one card we could add that would really bump the power level, it would definitely be Path to Exile. Probably just cutting some of the 2-drops. Probably a couple Watch Wolves, probably a 1-drop, maybe an Experiment one. Doesn't really work with Knights of New Alara. So that's what we kind of would want to be doing. Mana Tie's not great because our opponent has Aether Vials. Dawn Charm, not relevant. Beast Within does break up the lock, but I don't know if it's really worth it. Maybe? I mean, we might just have to play it so we don't get locked. It's not good because it trades a 3-3 for a 3-3, but it does minimize the lock potential. So we'll go down a couple Watch Wolves, go up the Beast Withins. And we'll play first. And we will do our traditional mulliganing into Oblivion. Our deck is pretty good at that. And, alright, we'll try this. We're going to need another land. Because of that, Dryad Militant going to the bottom. So we can start playing Pride Mages, which is fine. But we're land light, which means Leonin Arbiter is a major concern here. Shambling Vent for our opponent. No Aether Vial. Well, play the Forest. Play Qasali Pride Mage. Pass the turn. Godless Shrine. Untapped. Tidehollow Sculler for our opponent is an artifact, so we can Pride Mage it if we need to. Takes Wiltleaf Leash. Ooh, Dromoka's Command as well. Well, place during Wildwood. Get in with Pride Mage. And we have to leave our mana up this turn, because Wasteland Strangler, Process, Wiltleaf Leash would be super bad for us. It's a little easier to do because we drew this Dromoka's Command. So worst case, we can always just fire off a Dromoka's Command. Opponent gets in for 2. Yep. Leonin Arbiter for our opponent. Alright, let's pass. Plains is good. Play the Plains. Get in with our... Should have played a second Pride Mage there. Get in with our Pride Mage. Yeah, that was leaving points of damage on the table. Exalted, always play pre-combat. Opponent, now they have colorless mana. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. We can try to Dromoka's Command. Our opponent pass. Alright, we let it go. Opponent passes. We draw Experiment one. Well, let's get in with a Pride Mage. At some point, our opponent's going to have to start doing something. Opponent blocks and blocks. Okay. Well, we will kill both. Get back our Wiltleaf Leash. Play Experiment one. Pass the turn. Really trying to play around this Arbiter. Shambling Vent for our opponent. Second Thalia. Well, I'm pretty sure our opponent does not have Path. which means I think we're going to fire this off. I think if they had Path, they would have used it last turn. Alright, just kidding. Well, apparently our opponent, interesting. I assume that our opponent would not have let themselves get 2-for-1 if they had an option to path their way out of it, but apparently they do not care about the 2-for-1. Well, Wiltleaf Liege, no longer playing around anything. If our opponent has Ghost Quarter, they're Ghost Quartering our Gavany Township anyway. Opponent actually had 1,000,000 paths. Interesting. Paths are us. Gets in with both. What's our opponent's last card? Down to 14. Another Arbiter. Ooh, well, 1, 2, 3. Let's just Dauntless Escort, pump our Experiment 1, get in with Experiment 1. Next turn, we can surprise Knight of New Alara. Eldrazi Temple, not relevant. Opponent passes. Well, that's Knight of New Alara. Pumps up our Dorks, go attacking. Our opponent's going to have to start blocking. Probably using Shambling Vent to help. Yep, there's Shambling Vent. Let's see how our opponent blocks here. We might have just ran them out of action. Blocks, 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 blocks. Blocks everything on... Well, I think our opponent gets to keep Shambling Vent, and we wrath their creatures. Alright, they're not going to block with that. So we will kill... Thalia and Leonin Arbiter, I think. Since those are the cards that are cheapest for our opponent to activate. Shambling Vent does gain them life, but it makes them not do anything for a long time to be able to use it. Watchwolf. Alright, we could Stirring Wildwood here. If we attack with both. 1, 2, 3. Well, let's attack with Experiment 1. See what our opponent does. I'm assuming it's Shambling Vent double block. Yep, there's Shambling Vent. Yeah, let's just kill Arbiter. Opponent goes back to 7, but we play Watchwolf. Oh. Combat damage. Alright. We play Watchwolf. We play Fleecemane Lion, which are going to be 5/5s thanks to Knight of New Alara. We have Township activation next turn, or Fire Up Wildwoods, which will be a 5/6. And, yep, Knight of New Alara. Whew, alright, we got there. Beating down through 2 Paths to Exile. So, I think that this matchup can go in our favor if we don't get locked. That's, Displacer is so good against us, and we have relatively few answers for Displacer, which is definitely a significant concern. So, let's run it back like this. And, alright, this hand's actually pretty reasonable. Unfortunately, all our lands enter tapped, but we have a good curve. We even have Dromoka's Command, our 1 removal spell. Opponent leads Ghost Quarter Aether Vial on the mulligan. Well, Fortified Village, tapped, unfortunately. Pass the turn. So we're playing off curve here, but hopefully that'll still be okay. Another Aether Vial. Yikes. I'm assuming that's not the opening our opponent was hoping for. Experiment 1. Play a Fortified Village. Pass the turn. Vial's going to tick up. Well, there's Eldrazi Temple. If you're going to draw a land, it might as well tap for 2 mana. Relic of Progenitus, sure. Well, let's just Fleecemane Lion, pump up Experiment 1. No attacks yet. Aether Vial for Thalia would be such a blowout. We can avoid that next turn by leaving up Dromoka's Command. Opponent cycles. What do they got? Opponent just passes. Loxodon Smiter. Well, play Sunpetal Grove. Let's just attack with both and see what our opponent does. Leaving up Dromoka's Command. And then play stuff post-combat. Vial's in, 3-drop. It's a Displacer. Okay. Opponent blocks. So let's just fight it With no colored mana, I don't know how our opponent messes this up. This Vial's not on Flicker Wisp mana. Oh, goodness. Really? Well, that ended up being a huge blowout. Well, maybe we should have predicted our opponent ghost quartering themselves into path. Definitely did not predict that. Well, instead of 2-for-1ing our opponent, we just 2-for-1'd ourselves, and that could be a way we end up losing this game. It does make our opponent give up 2 of their best lands to get a Plains, but they have Aether Vials. Opponent going on the aggro and passes. Vials in a Thought-Knot Seer. Well, we got to do this now. Actually, they don't have the mana. Oh, are we really going to lose? Oh my goodness. Alright, go ahead, opponent. You got your Thought-Knot. Takes Wilt-Leaf Leash. Well, we play Loxodon Smiter. I would like to just fight. What are the chances they really have a second path? They could also have Flicker Wisp. Alright, let's just pass. Predicting Eldrazi Temple off the top. It's a swamp. Opponent passes. Well, let's play Dauntless Escort. Go attacking with our Smiter. Opponent takes it. Pass the turn. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. They are not lands. Aether Vial. Wasteland Strangler. Going to process one of our exiled cards. Alright, we gotta go for this. Put a counter on Dauntless Escort. Smiter fights Displacer. How do we get blown out this time around? Opponent does have another path. Can't do anything about that. We do save our Dauntless Escort. Well, opponent's going aggro. Alright, we take our beats down to 10. Play Fleece Mane Lion. Play second Wilt-Leaf Liege. Go on the huge attack. Alright, Wasteland Strangler off the table. That's good for us. That has some real problems with Eldrazi Displacer if our opponent finds a colorless source. And there's the colorless source, Eldrazi Temple, as predicted, couple turns late. 1 card in our opponent's hand. 0 cards in our opponent's hand. Alright, well, we know our opponent's hand. We know what's happening. Opponent passes. Oh, God. Well, let's play a Knight of the New Alara. Off the top, we are going to do a bit of attacking. Our things are huge. What do you got, opponent? Bring it on. Time for Uber Chump. Whew, well, that was closer than I wanted it to be, considering our opponent mulliganed. But Knight of the New Alara, Wilt-Leaf Liege, together with some serious power. Sweet. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, take a second and click that like button down below. It's a great way to help support the channel for free. And you can find the next video in the playlist right here.